On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Oh, Pam was just beat up on for 2 days in a row in the Senate or House, I believe it was. We've got some stuff from it, not a lot. I didn't want to play a bunch of it because it was just kind of stupid, a bunch of yelling and stuff. She held her ground. I was kind of curious how Trump was going to feel about it. We've got some responses on that. Got a whole lot of news to get into, certainly with the economy and everything else. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's get the ball rolling. Just a fun place to start. We'll see how you guys feel about it, but yeah, check this out.
How do you stop this whole system? What drives it? Money. Don't pay taxes. Don't pay taxes. Watch how fast every politician will be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why do we pay taxes? To send money to the I country? To send money to other countries? Why are we going to pay taxes? What can we do, Jim? What can we do? Stop paying taxes. They take our money, they laugh in your face, they give it to others, they create war, they create chaos. We're infiltrated. So we got to take care of one another. Forget your left, right. Forget your Republican, Democrat. Forget all that. Start taking care of one another and look at the real bad guys. The real bad guys are the ones causing all this.
I'm going to say, it is a neat idea. First off, if you're a W-2 employee, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to tell your employer to not pay your taxes. That's never going to happen because you'd actually get your employer in trouble. So good luck on that. But if you're a 1099 employee, all right, go for it if you want. I do personally still pay my taxes. It's just a really easy way to screw up your life, regardless. Until we actually have control of things, I don't know if that's great advice. It's up to you. It depends how much money you make, and that'll depend on whether or not you end up in the and what state you work in or live in, by the way. So maybe not filing federal tax, that might be one thing, but not filing state tax, that's a whole different thing. So just something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people talk like that, and it's easy to say, but doing it is an entirely different story. Not always necessarily the best idea. It's up to you. Up to you, always. C3 posted this, and this has to do with the shutdown here. Follow along, folks. Dems cheat in next election without the SAVE Act to get power. Dems nuke filibuster. Dems pack courts. Dems give amnesty to 30-plus million illegals. Dems open border. Dems pass no ID laws. Dems turn U.S. into one-party country forever. Dems kill the U.S. Simple and 100% right. Schumer Democrats are opting to cause a partial shutdown over the DHS funding. They're literally willing to go to the mat on this one. So we're going to see how it plays out. Lawmakers are examining some potential consequences of the Department of Homeland Security shutdown due to lack of funding. There's some discussion here. Check it out.
And lawmakers look at what could happen if the Department of Homeland Security shuts down over a lack of funding. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has the takeaways from a hearing on Capitol Hill.
Absent the passage of a continuing resolution by Friday night, the Department of Homeland Security will shut down.
At a hearing of the House Appropriations Committee on Wednesday, lawmakers discussed the impacts of a possible shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Congressman Mark Amodei says that looking at the current situation, a DHS shutdown is likely to happen.
The good work that the department does outside of immigration enforcement will come to a screeching halt.
This includes the TSA, Coast Guard, Secret Service, cybersecurity defense workers, FEMA disaster relief, and others.
What that really means is delayed disaster response, weakened cyber defenses, and uncertainty for the men and women who show up every day to keep this country safe.
The TSA administrator says that the vast majority of TSA employees are considered essential and are required to work during a shutdown.
Around 95%, or 61,000 of TSA's employees are deemed essential and continue to work to protect the traveling public during a shutdown while not getting paid.
McNeil says that during the last shutdown, the TSA saw an increase of unscheduled absences.
Which means folks calling out because they could not afford to show up to work. And what we have to do in those instances is to start kind of consolidating and collapsing some of our operations, which means that not all of our lanes are open, and that does lead to longer wait times.
Representatives from other agencies testified as well, including the Secret Service and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency.
The assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought forward hard truths for our agency and critical areas for improvement. A shutdown halts our reforms.
Negotiations between Republicans and Democrats got more heated following the DHS-involved shootings of 2 Americans in Minnesota in January. Republicans argue Democrats are using the deadline to demand ICE curbs that would hinder enforcement. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem commented on negotiations on Tuesday.
But if you don't fund this department because of ICE, because of 11% of the budget that funds ICE, it shows that you don't truly understand what our mission is.
If a continuing resolution doesn't pass by the end of the day Friday, a DHS shutdown will begin at midnight and continue until the funding is passed by Congress. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out. But we've got this, the purple-haired, crazy Senator, Rosa DeLauro. She's the one that's usually got purple hair, blue hair, all that stuff. She's crazy-ass from Connecticut, Democrat in the House. She is trying to push through a bill to fund every agency in DHS except ICE and CBP. It's actually a smart move on their part, though I don't think it's going to move forward in any way, shape, or form, but good on her. Obviously the House already passed the full funding bill, so they're not going to come back and pass some partial funding bill, right? So it's a moot point, but nonetheless, it's a good idea. It's not going to happen. Here's Senator Kennedy just talking about the craziness that the Democrat Party has become, and it's pretty funny.
The Karen wing of the Democratic Party wants to defund ICE, just like they wanted to defund the police, and we know how that vampire movie turned out. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party is in control of the Democratic Party. And even if we agreed to every one of Senator Schumer's conditions, and I won't vote for him, he couldn't deliver the Democratic votes. Because the Karen wing will punish any Democrat that votes to keep the Department of Homeland Security open. And that's just a fact. And that's really what's going on. And as a result, look, I don't hate anybody, but Senator Schumer, he knows what I'm saying here is true. He's kind of wandering around like one of those Roombas, looks like a man who just lost his luggage. He's negotiating. He's negotiating something, but he can't deliver the votes even if we agreed. So we're not going to agree, and we wouldn't anyway.
Senator Kennedy, thank you very much. We will be watching it all and praying that America doesn't have to face another Democrat-led shutdown. Good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you there.
Yeah, Democrats are kind of screwed. They're not going to be able to pull this off the way they need to at this point, especially. So we'll see what happens. Donald Trump truthed this out. Said the Rhino governor of the great state of Oklahoma, in which I won all 77 counties 3 times, the only person to do so, incorrectly stated my position on the very exclusive governor's annual dinner and meeting at the White House. Quote, the White House intends to limit invitations to the annual business meeting scheduled for February 20th to Republican governors only, end quote. That is false. The invitations were sent to all governors other than 2, who I feel are not worthy of being there. I did not invite the governor of Colorado, who has unfairly incarcerated in solitary confinement a 73-year-old cancer-stricken woman a 9-year term for attempting to fight Democrat voter fraud, plus the foul-mouthed governor of Maryland, who fraudulently stated that he received military medals, a lie, is doing a terrible job on the rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge and has allowed Baltimore to continue to be a crime disaster. I even invited the slob of a governor, J.B. Pritzker, and horrendous California Governor Gavin Newsom to the dinner, despite the terrible job they are doing. So, as usual with him, Stitt got it wrong. The invitations were sent out to all other governors, Democrat and Republican. I look forward to seeing the Republican governors and some of the Democrat governors who were worthy of being invited, but most of whom won't show up. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. The House, with the House having passed the Save America Act, requiring voter ID. What now? Well, it's going to be on its way to the Senate. It barely passed. It passed on party lines pretty much, 218 to 213. Well, did Massey actually vote for this? Looks like we actually got all the Republicans to vote it. That's crazy. What is really funny, and the Democrats are getting shit for it for good reason, this is their system right here, okay? This is how they vote. They insert their ID into the machine, then they vote. Yay, nay, present, open. They put their ID in and vote in Congress. They need an ID to vote in Congress. Interesting. Oh, one Democrat voted for it. Who was that? How cool is that? I want to reward that one Democrat. Who the hell was it? I don't know. Look it up at some point, but this was interesting too. So John Brennan, the former CIA director that definitely tried to run Trump into the ringer and everything else, has been on CNN and all this other nonsense spouting off his stupid face. Well, he might actually be in a world of hurt. And it was asked, and the answer may not quite be what you want, but close.
Congress and the country would like to know if Mr. Brennan is going to be indicted.
What I can confirm is that we have received a referral from you, Chairman Jordan, to investigate John Brennan. His attorneys have made some public statements, but the department is still bound, of course, by our longstanding policy of not discussing matters. What I will say today, I can't confirm nor deny whether there is a pending investigation, but what I will say is no one is above the law.
Mr. Chairman,
Weaponization has ended.
Yeah. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
I love how she just shuts the mic off. She's like, bitch. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. So, again, Pam was fire and brimstone. And a couple good pictures chosen, but the one I went with on the thumbnails, better. FBI strategy memo on election violence raises questions about the double standard between J6 Black Lives Matter riots. So FBI 2020 memo raises double standard questions on political violence persecutions. A newly revealed FBI memo from August 2020 shows the Bureau prepared for potential election violence by recommending equal prosecutions of both left and right-wing groups. However, prosecution data reveals a stark disparity. Approximately 90% of the 2020 BLM protesters had charges dropped across major jurisdictions, while 86% of Capitol riot defendants were convicted. Yeah, try that on for size. 1,270 convictions out of 1,500 arrests in the case of that. Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun revealed that the May-June 2020 White House riots caused more officer injuries and property damage than the January 6th, yet resulted in 0 federal prosecutions. FBI agents themselves raised concerns in an internal after-action review, complaining they had become pawns in a political war, and that the Bureau was infected with political biases that treated the 2020 protesters far differently than those arrested after January 6th. I want to remind you guys of great products. I've got a number. I love the advertisers I have, or really the groups that we're promoting. TWC, The Wellness Company. These guys are amazing. They do so many things too. And they do it all really, really well. Supplements, they have the best lines of supplements out there. I highly recommend you check out all their supplements if you're interested in trying to enhance your health, because frankly, our foods are suck for the most part. Our produce, our soil, there's a lot of things we need to really try to deal with that have not been on the forefront for decades. So health is important. Supplements are a huge way to go. Also, they are going to try some sort of crazy sickness, flu-type sickness, probably a COVID-ish type thing. They're going to try to leak one. Likely it's not going to come from the United States. Canada, very strong chance. If not, Europe for sure. And then they'll try to fly in the victim zero, or whatever they call it. So get the Contagion Emergency Kit. This is one of the best kits that you can get out there, and it is specifically about stopping any sort of viral infection. Any. They've got acne even. If you've got kids, right? Get them some ivermectins. They've got that too. Go to the ivermectin collection. But that said, lice, respiratory infections, rheumatoid arthritis, sinus infection, some skin infections, if it's not a bacterial. Obviously, and even that might be okay because they've got the azithromycin, inner ear infections. This thing covers so many different things, but certainly if you get the flu, yeah, that's covered too. This has ivermectin. It's got 25 tablets of 12 milligrams. It's also got 14 tablets of hydroxychloroquine. It's got 250 milligram, 12 tablets of the azithromycin. It's an antibiotic. Very good stuff there. And another antiviral. It's a generic Tamiflu. You get 10 tablets of that. On top of that, you get the nebulizer and 5 vials of essentially like that asthma medicine. Kind of opens up your lungs if you're somebody that gets very sensitive to the flu. you probably want to check that one out. They've got a whole lot of stuff about weight loss, so you can check it over by Goal. They got new products, of course, always coming in, and some really amazing stuff. Weight management specifically, aging and longevity, cleanse and detox. Again, the ultimate spike detox was one of the most amazing things. You know, the sad part is, I hate to say this, but one of the people that gave me the biggest kudos on that and me talking about it said I saved her life. And it was unfortunately one of the two people that we've lost in my audience. One of them died in some weird, mysterious way, and she couldn't live without her love and ended up dying too. I'm not sure if she was responsible for it, probably, but it's very, very sad. It is amazing. If you rolled up your sleeve, this is something that many have said will save your life. Powerful. So cleanse and detox, they've got it. Hormones and sexual health, they've got those. So like your Tadalafils and stuff like that, they got them. Or boner pills, as I like to call them. And then they've got another one too, which, again, I don't know all the ins and outs of all the different boner pills out there, but whatever. They've got peptides of all sorts. I actually want to look at the peptides. So I got a bunch of these. So Smile for your gums, I think. Roots, Hydrogel. What's this for your hair? So they got a bunch of different stuff that, actually, that'd be interesting to try. Regenerates, which is drops to repair. What is it? Recovery and repair for, I guess, after you work out and stuff. Interesting. Big. Yeah. Again, a lot of people have been getting this bison trifecta too. Ultimate rare peptides. Interesting. Yeah, they've got just amazing products, right? And the one I have to talk about is their meat. Their beef boxes are crazy good. Like really good cuts of meat, grass-fed, stuff like that. The one I got was the Cattleman's Lean Meat. Still working my way through it. The Pasture's nutrient-dense meats. That's the next one I'm getting for sure. Ribeye is my absolute favorite cut of meat. But I did finally have the filet mignon, and oh my God, it was tender. Oh, it was so damn good. Oh, it was so good. And I've already eaten the two top sirloins, both excellent. I haven't gotten to the others yet. We're still working on them. I don't eat steak all that often, so I love chicken. That's my favorite meat. I eat that constantly. But amazing beef boxes, and they're so good. And they've also got these great jerky treats, too. These are pure protein sticks and beef jerky and all that stuff. Just delicious. So, again, check out their products. They've got the methylene blue, if you want to try to get into that, or Smurf, make your pee look like Smurf pee. That's pretty fun. It actually does turn your pee kind of a greenish blue color. It's fantastic. And, again, they've got a whole lot of Relieve RX. It's an opioid-free pain relief. Again, you can get talk to a doctor with the telemed, and they got memberships where if you're going to continue month after month, you'll actually save money, probably get free shipping. Check into the different memberships. They've got amazing stuff. Go to twc.health, twc.health/OTF. That's twc.health/OTF. Make sure you're protected. Make sure you've got the medicines that you need. And again, this is telemed, so you've got a doctor available if you need to ask them questions. They're awesome. The wellness company is amazing. twc.health/OTF. All right. Got some ICE stuff to talk about. Trump's crime crackdown sees U.S. murder rates hitting lowest level in over 100 years. A number of cities right now are showing much, much better numbers as far as deaths and homicides. Even Washington, D.C., I think, took 3 weeks into the new year before there was finally a homicide. So this is because of the immigrations being, or the illegals being sent out. Some of the worst have already been arrested, right? So that's what the thing is that most people don't really appreciate. All these ICE raids are just going after everybody that's illegal. No, they're going after the worst of the worst. And they're using immigration to do it. So, yeah, they're getting rid of the worst of the worst. And because of that, we're actually seeing a reduction in the numbers, even though it still seems like we're having the fight of our lives, right? Under Trump's direction, the Department of Transportation is moving to bar unvetted foreign drivers from U.S. trucking industry. They finally got it going. Sean Duffy did a great job. He said, "This is for Delilah Coleman and all the Americans killed or hurt in crashes caused by unqualified foreign truck drivers. These trucker drivers should never have received a commercial driver's license, and this rule makes sure that it won't happen again." And I think this is Kennedy's bill. But it basically, they were getting around this driver's license thing, and they were doing it with this employment authorization document. And because of that, they were able to bypass any of the actual checks that they should have had to go through. And this is a loophole that they've essentially closed. And this is not going to allow them to be able to sidestep our laws, our being able to speak English and all that. And again, there's just been some horrific crashes. I don't want to necessarily go into all of them, but yeah, this is going to be eligibility is limited to specific visas, elimination of EADs, which is that thing I was just talking about, and mandatory SAVE verification. States must query the systematic alien verification for entitlements system to confirm every applicant's lawful immigration status. If they don't have it, they don't get to drive, period. End of story. New Jersey governor signs order to limit immigration agents. I don't think this is probably legal. Whatever. They're saying agents cannot use state property as a staging area, processing locations, or base for operations. The New Jersey governor has issued this executive order limiting how federal immigration agents can use state property. There's lots of federal property that exists in states, so I don't know if this is a big deal. They are saying agents cannot use state property staging, like I said. What was the other one? The public, let's see. Governor of New Jersey is launching a state portal for residents to submit photos or videos of ICE activity, but the public will not be allowed to view that material. She says the goal is to track patterns of enforcement, which can inform states' response, including in courts. So, yeah, they're just being horrible. Now, Tom Homan, he has announced the end of the federal surge in Minnesota. And so Minnesota right now, they're basically trying to run around and act like, yeah, Mayor Jacob Fry's like, yeah, we won. It's like, nah. You didn't. We're actually pulling back for a number of reasons right now, but we got who we needed to get. I think we arrested over 4,000 people or something like that there. So we accomplished what we needed to do, and they're pulling back out. So again, this is going to happen in other states. We'll see it play out. Now, here is some crazy testimony that we're finding out about how these Minnesota riots were happening. And Senator Josh Hawley, who he's on my shit list for sure, but every once in a while, I don't know, every once in a while he does good things, and then every once in a while he does really, really bad things. Who knows anymore? That said, this is 14 groups of funding. Check this out. It's amazing.
Your organization specializes in following nonprofit funding and organizational networks. So based on your research, what organizations have been active on the ground in Minnesota? What can you tell us?
Yes, we have tracked over $60 million, according to the latest 990 disclosures, to approximately 14 groups, some of them national, others on the ground. Groups like the ACLU provide the legal defense, as well as facilitate the trainings for some of the tactics that Senator Corrin just described. A group named Democracy Forward. Take Action Minnesota has gotten over $10 million from these large NGO networks, including the Neville Roy Singham Network, Indivisible, National Lawyers Guild, CTUL, the Council on American Islamic Relations Minnesota, CARE, Minnesota 350, Voices for Racial Justice, on and on. Like I said, over $60 million just according to the latest 990 disclosures.
$60 million, at least 14 different groups. That sounds like a pretty broad ecosystem here. Where's this money coming from? I mean, how is it flowing to these groups? Do you have any sense?
So we've built a database that contains hundreds of thousands of rows from grants from networks like the Soros Network, the Arabella Funding Network, as mentioned, the Neville Roy Singham Funding Network, many others, Tides, the Ford Foundation Network, the Rockefeller Funding Network, these massive NGOs that have billions of dollars to spend on all kinds of coordinated protest, or in this case, riot activity.
Yeah, this is a lot of money, dark money coming in and being used specifically to attack this nation. So it just needs to play out. It's so important. I know a lot of us, oh, make it stop, make it stop. If it was that easy to stop it that quickly, we would. But no, ultimately, more people got to see this. This is going to be the tricky part, because we're going to walk up to the edge now, guys. We're going to walk up to the edge knowing full well we're going to turn around at some point. We're all going to want to turn around way before we get to where we finally get, before we finally turn around. So, yeah, prepare yourselves is all I can say. And make sure you're aware of what's happening outside your front door. That will be the most important thing. Know who you can trust, who you can't. Be mindful, because I'm not sure how they're going to spike up certain people, certain liberal lefty crazies maybe live in your neighborhood. They might get fired up, and then if you got an American flag hanging off your house, you might be a target. So just know who's who. And if some crazy purple-haired person shows up at your door with 5 other people, you might not want to open the door. That might not go well. You know what I mean? So, or depending on what the laws are and how you're allowed to approach certain situations when it comes to the Second Amendment, you might have some opportunities. Me living in California, I got to feel and I got to be able to prove that I felt threat. Like if there's a bunch of people standing outside my house with guns or with weapons, machetes, torches, stuff like that, yeah, I could shoot away if they're on my front porch. I can shoot them through the door if I want, and it's perfectly legal. Don't recommend it, but legal. Castle doctrine. Got a lot to do when you can protect your own home. So again, principals, teachers unions organize school anti-ICE walkouts. This is insane to me. First off, and one thing, ladies, I'm asking your help, frankly, on this, because when we look at some of the loudest unions that have pushed this type of crazy stuff, the teachers union being one of them, teachers overwhelmingly are female. Overwhelmingly. Now, there are male teachers. I'm not saying there's not, but overwhelmingly teachers are female. And nurses overwhelmingly are female. We need you females to help us with this because, frankly, us dudes have no fucking clue what the hell's going on inside any of your heads. We never understood you. We've never understood you. We try, but we just have no damn clue. So it's going to be really tricky for us to maybe pull some of these people back from the edge. So your guys' ripples, your ladies' ripples are going to be super important. Again, this is a big part of the problem we've got right now. A lot of people that are just brainwashed, right? And again, I'm not trying to be mean or anything like sexist or anything because it's not every black and white, not every stereotype fits everybody, right? But women tend to come at life a little more from an emotional standpoint. Men tend to come from more of a logical standpoint. It's why it's so hard for us to just listen to someone complain about problems and not try to fix it. We're not supposed to fix it. That's not what you want. I know we get that. But in our man brains, that is like weird. Like, why would you want a problem to keep happening? That's so strange. And I don't know. Makes sense to you guys. Doesn't to us at all, right? We want to solve the problem. Unfortunately, this problem is not easy to solve. Local police finally arresting anti-ICE agitators in Minnesota. We've actually got the cops helping us now. That's amazing. Local police arrested 54 anti-ICE protesters overnight. So Holman's pulling out, and everyone's trying to blame the CBP guy. I don't think that was the problem. And again, I think CBP was in there to protect ICE while they were making arrests. So again, I think what happened and how it played out, and everyone's like, oh, they got to fire whatever his name was. I forget what the CBP guy's name is. Bovin, I think it is, something like that. Whatever. But again, I don't think he failed. I think Holman went in, and that's where a lot of people are also saying, well, Holman was able to do it. That Bovino guy was just crazy. And it's like, no, Bovino was never supposed to be the one to negotiate it. Holman is the guy to do that, and he is awesome. He's been on both sides of the fence. He was Obama's border guy. So again, I can't bitch about him too much. Holman's got a lot of respect and is very good at what he does. So again, cheers and kudos. President Trump signs Kennedy's bill to end government payments to deceased Americans. That's crazy. Who would want to do that? Of course we want to keep giving money to deceased Americans. I wonder how many Democrats voted against this. Think about it. Think about it. That's going to be a huge one. Like there should be zero people in Congress that vote no on this. No, we want to keep giving money to dead people. Really? Taxpayer money? Huh? I'd love to see the vote on this one. We'll see if it pops up in my purview over the next few days. All right, what I'm calling lame, it's just like shit judges and stuff like that. District court judges are defying pro-Trump immigration ruling. This was down there, Texas, Louisiana, and all that stuff. There's a bunch of judges that are trying to read between the lines on what the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling actually deals with. So we've got a number of judges, liberal judges, that are trying to do some crazy creative stuff. I'll be curious to see if it gets spun back up to the Supreme Court. And again, this is part of the problem. We need to see who these shit judges are. They will be removed at some point. They are a cancer within our judicial branch. It's horrible. So again, we need to see this play out, and it needs to be fixed. There's a lot that has to happen. It's going to take us a few years, arguably 10 to 20, but I think within 2 years max, probably even, a lot's going to happen this year because we've got elections, and I think it's got to be somewhat ramped up, and we're going to have to be able to demonstrate that elections have been cheated, which we're getting there. So a lot is going to happen this year, but I think it's going to take us a year or two to clean out a lot of this. Now, Congress hopefully will come this year. Hopefully we'll be able to clear out a lot of Congress because we got a bunch of shitheads that we are going to primary. And Trump is going and has declared war, and we'll get there. He has declared war against these son of a guns, or sons of bitches, as we might say in the business. Grand jury is declining to indict the seditious six Democrat lawmakers. You guys know the whole thing. So anyway, Washington, D.C. grand jury has declined to do this. Jeanine Pirro was involved with this, and they were not able to get that to move forward. I'm going to assume they're going to continue to try to figure out another way to get around this. Let's see. In response to the grand jury's decision, Senator Slotkin posted on X today, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro attempted to persuade a grand jury to indict. Now, that's his, who cares what he thinks? But yeah, there was we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, they're not done and not giving up on that. Johnson says 6 Democrats should be indicted after the grand jury rebuke. This is Speaker Johnson. And he's like, I think anytime you're obstructing law enforcement and getting in the way of these sensitive operations, it's a very serious thing. And it probably is a crime. And yeah, they probably should be indicted. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, it's a game, guys. It's all a game. It's a show, even. Many say it's a movie. I think people take that a little too literally sometimes. But yeah, it's kind of a movie. It's playing out like that in front of our eyes, at least. I don't think it's quite that controlled, but I do think there's a lot of nudging and a lot of chess moves. I mean, it really is. It's move, counter move, counter move, counter move. It's what it is. So it is pretty cool how it's playing out. White House pushes to quickly remove the new U.S. attorney. This is funny. This is one of the ones where a district judge is like, no. You cannot continue to have that person in. It's past the 100 days or 120 days, 100, whatever, 100, however many days it is. I forget what it is, right? You can't do it. And so this district judge decided they were going to put in their own person. Talk about crazy, right? So the name is veteran prosecutor. Her name was, or his name, Donald Kinsella. He was sworn in as U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of New York, which, of course, was chosen by a judge. It's not how it's supposed to work. And this was, according to an announcement from the district court. Well, later that evening, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche wrote on the social platform X that Kinsella was removed from the role. Quote, judges don't pick U.S. attorneys, at POTUS does, Blanche wrote. See Article 2 of our Constitution. You are fired, Donald Kinsella. So that didn't last long. Also, Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche appealed the Fourth Circuit Monday to overturn the dismissal of criminal cases against James Comey and Letitia James, arguing that Lindsay Halligan, appointed as interim U.S. Attorney, acted with proper authorization. We'll see where we can get on that. Some Epstein stuff to talk about. A bit of Epstein stuff to talk about. First and foremost, we've got an email from, this guy. A picture of him. Apparently, he is the CEO of DP World. He is Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, right? Sulayem, whatever. It's now been confirmed that he's actually in the redacted email where it stated, I loved the torture video. I loved the torture video is this dude saying it. You guys remember that? I shared it recently. Hopefully you've seen it. Yeah, so now that we know this dude, they're saying, so what should happen now? I think I doubt is DP World in this country? Doubt it, but whatever. He doesn't strike me as someone from around here, but, who am I? Who am I to guess? Nancy Mace says she will be shocked by some of the names she's seen in the Epstein files. Now, a big part of the Epstein thing, and I might bring this back up again, but now seems like a really appropriate time to mention it. They were grilling Pam Bondi because they were trying to get her to admit to things that she's not legally allowed to admit to. They know that anything she didn't release, that they believe should be released, isn't being released, likely because it's tied up in an investigation. But she can't say anything. Literally, I've watched a whole bunch of the interviews, and if you kind of have time on your hands, it's fun to watch. Because she just doesn't answer questions. She straight up doesn't answer. She brought a white notebook of things to basically accuse them of. It was pretty awesome. Straight up yelling matches. I mean, it was a freaking shit show, man. It was crazy as hell. So all that said, Nancy Mace has been raped. I'm getting into this part of the story now. Just keep in mind what Pam Bondi's got to deal with. So this is where it's a little like, Nancy's got to play her role or she doesn't get it. And I've heard a few people talk about we'd all be surprised how most people in Congress are absolute. I was going to say idiots, but I don't want that to be forwarded to her per se, but people that just don't really get the bigger picture. And again, she was raped. So this is very personal to her. She doesn't give a shit about anything else about nailing these fucking bastards. So understand that when she's talking to Piers Morgan, needless to say, I want her words to be shared because a lot of women have been abused by men horrifically for that matter. And oftentimes it scars you for life. So she's got she's got a message and I think we should all hear it.
But you would be shocked, Pierce, that some of the names that I've seen that came across the DOJ in emails that the DOJ is protecting. And we're talking about people on both sides of the aisle. We're talking about famous people, rich people, people in power, prime ministers, former presidents, et cetera, media personalities that are named in these files. And that's why I say this is going to go down as the greatest cover-up, one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. And I don't believe the girls are actually going to see justice, which is why it's going to be incumbent upon people like Democrat Ro Khanna, Republican Thomas Massie. I'm a Republican myself who's willing to name some of those names in our committee work, on the floor of the House, whatever it takes, because this kind of thing cannot continue to go on. I want to give the next girl hope that when she comes forward, she won't be shamed. Her life won't be smeared in the Daily Mail or whatever the next press, is going to do. What they do to female victims and to children is disgusting because they're protecting their rich and powerful friends. But you'd be surprised, shocked even at some of the names in the file.
So Nancy, here's what I'd like you to do, sweetheart. Well, that's probably rude to call you that. Here's what I'd like you to do, Missy. I'd like you to just say those names. Go ahead, say them. Why don't you say them? Why, while you were on Piers Morgan, why didn't you just list off a litany of names? Why? Why didn't you, Nancy? You should have. Here's your opportunity to protect all these women. Save them. But you didn't, did you? Why? Because it's fucking illegal. And you'd end up in jail. Or at least off the committee where you're seeing this. Obviously, things have to play out the way they play. You're calling this the biggest cover-up. I don't find that to be very helpful. Again, your myopic view of this is difficult to watch. So tell us, Nancy, stop yapping away and fucking say the names. Tired of this bullshit from you. There's a few of you all in Congress that are just out of your skulls. And I feel bad for what you've been through. I truly do. Fucking say the names. Stop tap dancing around it. You're not gaining any respect from anybody, at least in my corner. Oh, well, actually, I take that back. At least from me. Plenty of people in my audience, I'm sure, like you. Not me. Epstein survivors raise their hands, signaling they feel ignored by the DOJ as Attorney General Pam Bondi refuses to look in their direction. Again, this is a bunch of bullshit. These are Soros, Tide Center, Soros-produced advertisement that they're all trying to do. They're trying to make a show out of this. And they were able to do so. So, unfortunately, all of these victims, first off, here's their faces. Obviously, they don't mind being seen. All these victims are playing the wrong side of this. They're being like Nancy Mace. Not helping at all. And they're all trying to blame Pam Bondi, which is, again, they've been politicized. They've been turned into weapons. You now have less support. I felt bad for you until now. Again, the information's got to come out. There are criminal investigations happening, and how else is that supposed to happen? They can't release the shit that's going to be a part of. It would ruin it would taint any juries. It would ruin a whole bunch of stuff. It would make the prosecution have to drop their case. People don't get that. It's annoying as hell. Yeah, it sucks. I get it. Sometimes life sucks. It just is. Government certainly sucks, and this is government. So please, give everyone a chance to do what needs to be done. This is not going to happen quick. No effing way. Zero chance of that happening. You should know that by now. We've been expecting instant results for 2016? So 10 years. 10 years. We've all been expecting instant results. Look how far we've come in 10 years. Just seriously. We didn't know shit about Epstein at all. Look at how much we know now. Pam Bondi, shut the fuck up. We are so much further along than we ever were. Thank God Trump came out and said this. This made me happy. AG Pam Bondi, under intense fire from the Trump deranged radical left lunatics, was fantastic at yesterday's hearing on the never-ending saga of Jeffrey Epstein, where the one thing that has been proven conclusively, much to their chagrin, was that President Donald J. Trump has been 100% exonerated of the ridiculous Russia type charges. Actually, it is the slimeball Democrats, many of them big donors and politicians, that have been proven guilty. Republican loser, sanctimonious rhino Congressman Thomas Massie made a total fool of himself yesterday, fighting aimlessly against a hopeless agenda of hate and stupidity, as most clearly stated by his crashing job approval numbers in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, where a military hero opponent, Ed Gallerin, is crushing him in the polls. He is now in wacky Liz Cheney territory. Nobody cared about Epstein when he was alive. They only cared about him when they thought he could create political harm to a very popular president who has brought our country back from the brink of extinction, and very quickly at that. In fact, this attempt by the Democrats to take away attention from tremendous Republican success is backfiring, sadly. Maybe they should focus on their quest to open our borders to the world's greatest criminals, have transgender for everybody, or get men, no matter their size or strength, to play in women's sports. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Ghislaine Maxwell alleges 25 men settled with Epstein victims. Now, think about that for a second. These settlings happened way before Trump. Way before. 25 people settled. This is where Ghislaine Maxwell thinks she's really got nice boobs. I got to be honest. Good Lord, this is one of my favorite pictures that they ever share of her. It's just like, damn, it's nice boobs. Ghislaine Maxwell alleges 25 men settled with Epstein victims, protected by non-disclosure agreements. Can any of their stuff be released? Think about it for a second. Can any of their stuff be released? I hope you know the answer. As much as you want it to be something else, can any of those things be released? No. At least not yet. Now, she's saying what she's saying, and I think this is part of the game being played out. Truly do. And I still think she was Epstein's handler. I think she was the one with the ties. I think she was actually the criminal. I think Epstein was just a smart businessman that probably had sex with her when she was a minor. Think about it. Her dad probably pimped her out, and Epstein, because he's much older than her, and he's been with her for a long time, has probably got caught up in that and became a pawn as well. He had a nice life. He's flying back and forth on jets, partying with rich people and watching them make fools of themselves. But I think Ghislaine is actually the one. So again, everybody's focused on Epstein, but the real magic act is what's going on with the other hand, not the one they're playing to us. Any good movie's got a plot twist like that, right? So she supposedly knows these 25 men. She's trying to work a deal. It might be worth her being able to admit to all that stuff, or at least call them out so they can dig into it and maybe prosecute him. Maybe Trump can do something. I don't know. I don't know how legally I don't think they can, but if they've been given settlements, non-disclosures, all sorts of stuff. So we'll see. Kind of crazy. Rep. Andy Biggs, this is a pretty cool little part. This is not as bad as some of these. I didn't really want to play a bunch of the bad ones. I don't think I got Massey. I almost wish I grabbed him, but he's just a dick, and it was really long, and I honestly didn't think Pam Bondi's answers were that good, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. He made a fool of himself, that's for sure. Needless to say, here's Andy Biggs just submitting several facts that actually even call out members of the House in being involved in this Epstein stuff.
On that topic. We want to lead the way in the space on that, so we'd appreciate the help. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back 10 seconds.
Gentleman yields back. We'll recognize the gentleman from Arizona for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a number of UCs.
Gentleman can proceed.
Thank you. Bombshell new docs show Trump called police about Epstein in 2006.
Without objection.
Kamala Harris defends Biden administration decision not to release Epstein files.
Without objection.
Why weren't they released during the Biden administration?
Without objection.
House Democrat Stacey Plaskett exchanged texts with Epstein during 2019 congressional hearing.
Without objection.
New York judge allows Epstein victims' claims against Plaskett to proceed.
Without objection.
Hakeem Jeffries solicited funding from Epstein in 2013 after financier was convicted child sex offender.
Without objection.
Jeffrey Epstein was invited to dim fundraising dinner and to get to know Hakeem Jeffries by firm working with Brooklyn's Barack.
Without objection.
An email from Leslie Groff to Jeffrey Epstein concerning Hakeem Jeffries fundraising. Epstein file says Biden was replaced in 2019, question mark?
Without objection.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields. Back the gentleman from...
He just mentioned that last one. I don't know if you caught that. That Biden supposedly disappeared 2019, something to that effect, whatever it was. They submitted that as it's been submitted. It's now record. It's record. It's recorded forever. Joe Biden not being Joe Biden after 2019. And also the call-outs on Hakeem Jeffries. Very bad. 2013 got funding from him. 2009, I think, is when he got convicted, right? 2013. Well, that's not going to be good. So all the stuff they're asking for Republicans to have to deal with, well, what about you, Hakeem? What about you, big guy? Now, again, was it Steve Witkoff? He had some tough answers he had to give. All right, well, Hakeem, let's hear what you got to say, big guy. Let's hear what you got to say. Steve Bannon's not looking good right now. And again, him and Candace Owens and a few others are, it's just, again, some of these people, I've seen Steve in real life. I've not actually, I mean, he always sits up on the stage. You can walk up right by him. He's never struck me as a nice guy. Now, many are saying, and I'll get there in a second, I'll let that speak for itself here coming up. Let me just point this out. So Steve Bannon's having a conversation with someone, right? He's like, excellent. And then this guy, Georgie Schwartz, his real name's George Soros, was careful not to register under FARA. NGOs were carefully structured. My reading is that you can form a media company and make that the umbrella exemption. And Steve Bannon's like, on it. The media company has lots of advantages, sources, privilege, etc. Now, there's wonderings that Steve Bannon might have been actually having these conversations and maybe helping or learning how to do the same. Now, again, is this possibly just someone trying to slime him? Maybe, because maybe the whole conversation puts context on it. Again, I just don't particularly like Steve Bannon, but whatever. Just when you think the Epstein files can't carve out another pound of flesh from the rotting corpse of elite credibility, the 2026 DOJ tranche drops this precision-guided warhead. 2018 text exchanges between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey friggin' Epstein, the convicted child trafficker, where Bannon is actively brainstorming how to nuke the Office of Legal Counsel's long-standing memorandum prohibiting indictment of a sitting president. Like, let that sink in, I guess. Let me say it one more time. They're actively brainstorming how to nuke the Office of Legal Counsel's long-standing memorandum prohibiting indictment of a sitting president. This isn't casual chit-chat. This is a sustained strategic collaboration with a predator, while Bannon, freshly exiled from the White House in August 2017 and seething in his public feud with Trump, and remember, he supposedly stole money from that wall fund. Remember Fire and Fury dropping in January 2018? Floats legal theories to strip away the very constitutional shield that protected President Trump during the Mueller witch hunt. Bannon explicitly draws the parallels to the Bush-era torture memos, those famous OLC opinions that were later withdrawn under public pressure, suggesting Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein could simply rescind the presidential immunity memo the same way. Translation: find a bureaucratic loophole to greenlight indicting Trump while he's in office, shattering decades of established DOJ's policy that recognizes the catastrophic separation of powers implications of prosecuting a sitting executive. Legally, this is radioactive. The OLC memo isn't some partisan footnote. It's rooted in constitutional structure. Article 2, executive authority cannot function under the constant threat of criminal process. The Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed a variance of this principle. To weaponize its withdrawal would be an act of raw institutional sabotage. Good Lord. Turning the DOJ into a political assassination tool. And Bannon, this self-styled revolutionary, this supposed lion of MAGA, is texting strategy with Epstein on exactly how to make it happen. This is textbook resentful narcissism unleashed. Classic most expulsion rage. The discarded advisor, humiliated and discarded, doesn't just walk away. He fantasizes about torching the kingdom on his way out. The ego would festers into sadistic revenge fantasy. Epstein becomes the perfect confidant, another entitled predator who understands the betrayal, manipulation, and the thrill of destroying from the shadows. Bannon didn't just know Epstein, he collaborated. He brainstormed. He treated a man who trafficked children as a legitimate intellectual partner on how to kneecap the president who fired his worthless ass. And also, obviously, Epstein didn't like Trump either. This isn't loyalty. This isn't playing 4D chess. This is treason of the soul, the kind that hides behind populist rhetoric while stabbing the movement in the back. Trump saw through the slovenly, triple-shirted grifter years ago, kept him at arm's length, used him when convenient, discarded him when the stench became unbearable. Real power recognizes poison. But Bannon's parasitic orbit, Persobic, Kassam, Winters, the entire war room, circles of professional outrage merchants still pretend this man is their North Star, while the Epstein texts pile up like evidence in a RICO case. The cognitive dissonance must be exquisite. Years spent screeching about elite pedophile rings only to memory hole their own prophet's intimate texting relationship with the ringmaster himself. It's not devotion. It's psychological enslavement. Authoritarian follower syndrome in full bloom. Surrender identity to the domineering father figure, then self-lobotomize rather than face his corruption. Pathetic, predictable, contemptible. Steve Bannon isn't a warrior. He's a traitor in populist cosplay. A resentful, compromised parasite who sold out the president and the movement for ego and access to monsters. The mask didn't slip. It shattered. And every last sycophant still defending him is complicit in the betrayal. Trump was right, as always. Trump's never gotten rid of anybody he shouldn't have. So, yeah, this person that posted this is Gretchen Fight for Truth. I've seen a lot of her posts, and I guess this is a Twitter post, just to give credit to them, or get mad at them. LH Gray, trademarked apparently. But yeah, at Gray 4626. If you're curious, there you go. Don't be mad at me. I'm just the messenger, though. I've not liked Steve Bannon ever, really. Just been quiet about it because he was like one of the people, like Candace Owens. Like, and then it was like I knew something was weird about her. And again, the National Pulse. This is who he's talking about with Hakeem Jeffries or Hakeem what's his face and Winters. That's their paper. That's their publication. And there's a lot of stuff that I replace the stories as quick as I can because they're oftentimes spun in a weird way. And he's also British and has a weird take. So again, I've always been uber careful about who and how and what and just the way people spin stuff. I'm just kind of super sensitive to it. So again, this gets me in trouble a lot, by the way, just being too honest for my own good. New York City Mayor Pam Bondi is pleading to state legislators for more funding. He wants to raise the tax on the upper level people, that anyone that makes over $1 million a year, which there's quite a few of. And he's like, they can afford to pay an extra $20,000 more in taxes. Problem is they'll leave, and that's the thing. And all they got to do is leave the city, right? Then they can train in if they need to. They work there, and they just move out of the city. So this is another, like they're blaming Adams, and Adams is actually claiming, he's like, dude, I gave you guys an $8 billion extra reserves, man. You had money. I left you with money, and you're already broke. You're wanting to give away all this free stuff. So again, this is going to be interesting to see what Pam Bondi is actually able to do. Hochul doesn't seem to be supporting any of his nonsense, so whatever the case is. U.S. passes measure to overturn President Trump's tariffs on Canada. The House. 219 to 211. The Republican yays, the Republicans that wanted to turn back the tariffs. Massey, Fitzpatrick, Newhouse, Kiley, Hurd, Bacon, you are all done. Every one of you. You will not win your next election. Guarantee. And Trump's already threatened, and here it is. any Republican in the House or the Senate that votes against tariffs will seriously suffer the consequences come election time, and that includes primaries. Our trade deficit has been reduced by 78%. The Dow Jones has just hit 50,000, and the S&P 7,000, all numbers that were considered impossible just 1 year ago. In addition, tariffs have given us great national security because the mere mention of the word has countries agreeing to our strongest wishes. Tariffs have given us economic and national security, and no Republican should be responsible for destroying the privilege. President Donald J. Trump. So hopefully none of these people are yours. If they are, get ready to say goodbye to them because they are going away. No matter how nice you think they are traitors. These are the people. This is what has to happen. This election has to be free and fair, and none of these people will ever get elected again. Ever. So this is the game. We're having fun. And these same guys might flip parties. I'm still waiting for that to happen. I kind of expect that to happen. I expect enough of them to flip to Democrat to actually give the Democrats power to stop Trump. It's coming. And I think that's when the executive orders and stuff are going to just get crazier. Donald Trump, I already said that. Donald Trump also chose Truth This just in. Great job numbers, far greater than expected. The United States of America should be paying much less on its borrowing, its bonds, basically. We are again the strongest country in the world and should therefore be paying the lowest interest rate by far. This would be an interesting cost savings of at least $1 trillion per year balanced budget. And literally, he's talking about 2 points. They can get the interest rate down 2 points. That would save us $1 trillion a year. And right now, our deficit is 1.4 trillion, I think they're saying. So we would almost be square. And they could probably chill out $400 billion or find a way to get that some other way. Or at least with the manufacturing that we're going to be doing soon and the sales that we're going to have, we'll probably hit it with GDP. So what do we got here? Gold's taking a big crap today. That's cool. Yeah, that's good. Silver's down a lot as well. That's funny. So again, they're still working these deals. They're still trying to get this stuff. Yeah, something happened that dropped it same exact time. That's awesome. Yeah, everything's, well, I don't know exactly which post Trump did that pissed him off. That's in the morning. That was in the afternoon. That could have been that one. 316. Yeah, the tariffs. Anyone that threatens the tariffs. So that might be why we're seeing that. Stock market's down. S&P's down. NASDAQ's down. Everything's down right now. What's cryptos? Let's look at cryptos. Where are they at right now? Oh, they're all up, of course. That's funny. Bitcoin's at 67. It was down actually much lower earlier. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It dropped down to like 62 or something crazy. It was like, holy crap. XRP 139. Meh. Whatever. Guys, if you get time, this is the better time to try to buy. I'm telling you, you want to get out of their system. Also, we've got that sweet special cash deal going on where they are kicking down a safe and a free storage. Let me find that. Where is that? This stuff right here. This is a sweet deal. This is for cash customers only, but they're going to give you up to 10% in free gold or silver. So up to free 10%, up to 10% free gold or silver. It's cash deals. Probably got to be over like 10 grand, I'm a guess. I'm not 100% sure what that number is. She didn't really tell me. And I didn't really ask. It was my fault. Free storage and a free safe. So they're actually going to give you a safe that you can keep your stuff in. And when you're paying cash, they're actually they send the metals right to you. So it's pretty cool. Or they can store it themselves if you want for free. Or you got a free safe that's coming your way and you can store it yourself. So that's cash customers. Of course, you want to go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Also, for all you guys that are in 401ks or IRAs, yeah, you want to get out of those too. And that they can do tax-free, penalty-free. It's not the same deal, fortunately or unfortunately, but tax-free, penalty-free. You move the money sideways. They buy precious metals with that money that they move over, and then they put that into like a trust, but it's physical metals. Physical metals that are yours. And you can literally at some point say, hey, send me the metal. And they'll be like, all right, how much of it do you want us to send? And you'll be like, all of it, or some of it, or none of it, or whatever. You can still donate to it if you want, as far as an IRA goes. So it's still a pre-tax vehicle, but it's with precious metals, which protects your buying power. That's the beauty of it. Gold coin, 1 ounce coin. It's not necessarily worth more in buying power. If I would have bought this back in 1919 or whatever it was, 1918, if I would have bought this then, I I would have paid like $20, $30 Federal Reserve notes, and I could have bought a handmade tailored suit. Today, the same coin, if I bought it today, it'd cost me $5,000, but I can still get a handmade tailored suit with the value of this coin. It's worth the same. Now, when it comes to the Federal Reserve note, and this is what's happening, we've still got inflation occurring, and the price of gold's expected. There are a couple breaking points that they really didn't like. $80 and $5,000 for gold. They're desperately trying to cram it down below those, and they're having a really hard time. I think silver was up to 84, 87 earlier today, and that dropped down. So again, there's shenanigans happening. This might be to save the banks, or again, this might be the banks just struggling, but we're losing buying power. The Federal Reserve note, $1. You could have bought yourself back in 1918 or whatever it was. You could get 30 full-size Hershey chocolate bars. 30 full-size Hershey chocolate bars with one Federal Reserve note. Today, one Federal Reserve note will buy you a discount little baggie of gummy bears. That's what's happened. This saves your buying power. The dollars that you're currently in with your stock market don't. They don't. So either got to grow really, really fast, and Trump's talking 100,000, so maybe, but that's likely the kind of inflation we're talking about too. Protect your buying power. Get as much of it as you can while the price is low. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Get out of that system before they manage to get out of you. And they are desperately wanting to. They want to hurt all of us. Trump doesn't. He's trying to protect us. Hopefully he does. Over 70% of baby foods are just horribly disgusting. Folks, if you've got kids that are eating baby food, please watch this. And if not, just be aware and then tell people that have kids about this. Ripple it.
Newborns and toddlers aren't eating as healthily as they could. A clear majority of baby food, snacks, and drinks in the U.S. are found to be ultra-processed. They might also have additives that are linked to possible health issues. That's according to a study released today in the journal Nutrients. Researchers looked at over 650 foods and said that more than 70% had additives connected to, quote, inflammation and disruptions in gut microbiome. In a recent report, the CDC also found most foods eaten by U.S. children are ultra-processed. Previous studies have shown that eating ultra-processed foods can lead to major health issues, including obesity and type 2 diabetes.
So you see right out of the gate, they've got us feeding our kids foods to make them fat and diabetic. I mean, again, guys, go to otfspecial.com to get the feel great. They've been trying to make us diabetic forever so we'd get on medicines. Going on with the Dunroad Doctrine, Mexico is approving U.S. Navy SEALs to join joint training exercises. This was actually misrepresented in a few posts I saw. Fortunately, the guy that misrepresented it then shared this, because I actually looked it up. I'm like, there's no way that's true. And they were saying basically that the SEALs were going to come in and that Claudia Scheinbaum was offended. And it was not even true. It was someone that was totally screwing with the story. Supposedly the SEALs are going to work with training probably some of the special forces in Mexico so they can take down some of the cartel people themselves. So that's happening. That's pretty cool. Cartel drones, Pentagon laser test, or something else. Everyone's wondering what the hell happened with the El Paso thing. Obviously, the Pentagon's being a little tight-lipped about it. And so again, we don't know exactly. We don't know if they're testing a new weapon, which they might have been. And cool, but they don't want to tell us they are because they probably don't want to make it known because then they might change their tactics. So I don't know. They're kind of being quiet on it. Got Ted Cruz basically saying, hey, look, here's the thing. I'm going to schedule a classified briefing on that El Paso airspace closure. Quote, I have no reason to doubt what the secretary said, but I think a number of us would like to see a classified briefing very soon, Cruz said. Quote, at this point, the details of what exactly occurred over El Paso are unclear. FAA reopened airspace immediately. They didn't know about this. They felt like they should have known about this test. I don't know. I don't know if it was a test or not. And again, Politico is one of the people reporting this nonsense. But so the Mexican cartels apparently had 134 acres in Texas that they were using. And they thought they were untouchable. Well, they're not. The Texas Customs and Border Protection, they busted these guys. They took it over. They went, shut this thing down. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. Over 134 acres of land and property taken from the West Side Gulf Cartel, a terrorist organization operating near Rio Grande City in Texas. Get some tacos. Tejas. Don't mess with Texas. So yeah, this is dismantling their operation from the ground up. We are shutting them down. They don't talk about it. Media's not talking about it. A lot of this stuff we don't even know about because they don't necessarily want the cartels to know unless they decide they want the cartels to know. And this was obviously something that they were going to find out about anyways because we literally attacked them on our own ground, which they shouldn't be here anyways. Russian Airlines suspends flights to Cuba, and they've begun evacuation of citizens. This fuel crisis is causing a huge problem. Now, the Russian, they are preparing to send Cuba oil. I'm very curious to see how this works out. Again, if this ties, if they can get the timing right on the peace thing with Ukraine, then Russia can go down there and provide oil to Cuba. And again, this might be a big part of us turning Cuba away from communism. And Russia gets to be their friend, right? Like, it's okay. Like, I mean, theoretically, Cuba should be buying oil from us or Venezuela or whatever, or both. But we'll see. Russia's talking about this. Talk is one thing, doing's another. Is this going to be the Cuban Missile Crisis? Because they'd have to bring it down with an armada of ships. But we've got an entire carrier strike group there. So, like, what kind of force presence are they planning on bringing down to protect this ship? I mean, we likely wouldn't destroy one of their ships, but I'm reasonably sure we've got technology that would allow us to maybe make it ineffective or make it rudderless or any number of weird things. Like, they'd know we probably were behind it, but they'd never be able to prove why their rudder just fell off. That'd suck. Donald Trump posted this: relations between Venezuela and the United States have been, to put it mildly, extraordinary. We are dealing very well with President Delcy Rodriguez and her representatives. Oil is starting to flow, and large amounts of money, unseen for many years, will soon be greatly helping the people of Venezuela. Marco Rubio and all of our representatives are doing a fantastic job, but we speak only for ourselves and don't want there to be any confusion or misrepresentation. There is a story about a man named Harry Sargent III in the Wall Street Journal. He has no authority in any way, shape, or form to act on behalf of the United States of America, nor does anyone else that is not approved by the State Department. Without this approval, no one is authorized to represent our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it sounds like someone's trying to do something that they are not legally allowed to do. That would be RICO, wouldn't it? Or FARA? That would be actually FARA. And you're not even actually one of the representatives, so I think that's just straight up illegal. We'll see what happens. 2 U.S. Navy vessels collided. We had an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the USS Truxtun, and a supply-class fast combat support ship, like fuels, and they have ammo, and they have like food. A lot of stuff that these supplier ships have. Apparently, they hit each other. Both ships are still able to move. There's a couple sailors that sustained minor injuries but are in stable condition. We don't exactly know what happened. Apparently, hit each other. It's not going to be good. There is an investigation in effect, and I'm not sure if they're damaged enough to where they got to come to port or if they're okay. We'll see. We'll see what we find out in the near term. As far as the world, crazy stuff going on. U.S. just rejects the BBC's stay. U.S. judge, rejected BBC's stay application in Trump's defamation case. Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against BBC set for trial in February. This is going to be bad. This will put BBC out of business. They'll have to settle. There'd be no way around it. And they've been taking advantage of us, and they've sued our own companies too, here in the United States, England specifically. So there's no leg to stand on. Hey, that's not nice. Yeah, you're getting mad at us for suing you guys. We're just doing the same thing back. And you guys are actually ruining our people running for office. So now we've got a foreign company that's actually affecting our elections. It's much like what they tried to do with the X information. Trump, they deleted his information when he told everyone to go home. Anyway, it's craziness. The Manchester United, I almost said Manchurian. So Manchester United, that's football as they call it, but soccer team in England. Their owner, billionaire Jim Ratcliffe, is lashing out at this mass migration. So he's getting really pissed off at all the nonsense that's happening in England. So thank God someone's actually standing up. Geert Wilders he's saying Europe may once again need to be America to liberate it again from the tyranny of its own making. He is so pissed off at these people. He's Let's see, this typical example of seeing the speck in your brother's eye. The European Union is criticizing the rule of law in America, while there are indications that Ursula von der Leyen's European Commission has in the past 2 years actively tried to interfere in 8 parliamentary and presidential elections on the European continent. 8 elections she's messed with and actually managed to keep certain people out of power, the ones that were anti-Europe, anti-European Union, anti-immigration. We're finding out that von der Leyen seems to be very involved in affecting elections, helping probably money flow into certain people's pockets. Again, this deep state is happening everywhere. We're cleaning it out, and you're seeing the pains we're having to go through. These other countries haven't even begun to start cleaning out their mess, but we are leading the way, and they will eventually join us. Italian government approves a bill allowing naval blockades on illegal migrant vessels. Italian prime minister, she's like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Any ships that are trying to come and bring migrants here to our shores, we're going to interdict you. We're going to stop you. This ain't happening. We're not doing this anymore. So good for her. She's another one of the ones that's hardcore. She says, to all those who said it was impossible, this is her translation anyway, I would like to remind you that nothing is truly impossible for those who are determined to do something, and we are determined to ensure the security of our borders and the safety of our citizens, and we will use all the tools at our disposal to guarantee this security. So she's putting a stop to this nonsense. Proud of her. It's pretty cool. Donald Trump said he just had a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel and the various representatives as well. He said it was a very good meeting. The tremendous relationship between our two countries continues. There was nothing definitive reached other than I insisted that negotiations with Iran continue to see whether or not a deal can be consummated. If it can, I let the Prime Minister know that will be preference. If it cannot, we will just have to see what the outcome will be. Last time Iran decided that they were better off not making a deal, and they were hit with the midnight hammer, that did not work well for them. Hopefully this time they will be more reasonable and responsible. Additionally, we discussed the tremendous progress being made in Gaza and the region in general. There is truly peace in the Middle East. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Pentagon's preparing a second aircraft carrier to deploy. Sounds like they're actually preparing. I think it's at port. I think they're saying it's going to take like up to 15 days or so to get there. But they're talking about it. I think it's I forget which, is it the Lincoln? Is that the one they're talking about sending out there? Or it's Lincoln, I think it's already out there. I'm not sure which one they're talking about. But that said, we'll see. They're talking about it. U.S. forces withdraw from key Syria base. They've been pulling these troops out for like 15 days now. It's almost like they're preparing for the inevitable war. So these are in a Syrian base that Iran probably was going to rain down missiles on, and rather than trying to spend putting defense in all sorts of crazy places, why don't we try to condense and consolidate some of our forces into one location, and then we can sort of make a stand, if you will, or if we need to. And also, in some regards, putting us just slightly out of some of the ranges of some of their smaller missiles, which would be interesting as well. So we'll see, again, how this plays out. This is obviously to help protect our forces. They're kind of playing it out like, we're just, we don't need to be there anymore. It's cool. We trust the new leader, and you guys got this. So, all right, maybe that's all it is. Maybe. Scott Bessent says U.S. and China are going to remain rivals. I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. What the hell? It's only a minute long, and it's lovely Tiffany Meyer, and I haven't seen Alice Tang in a while. I miss her.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the relationship with China could be productive even as the two countries remain rivals. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told the BTG Pactual CEO conference in Sao Paulo Tuesday, "We are going to be rivals," referring to China. At the same time, he said U.S.-China relations are, quote, in a very comfortable place. Bessent added that the U.S. doesn't want to decouple from China, but it needs to de-risk. He says Washington is working to retake sovereignty in key industries like critical minerals, medicine, and semiconductors. China currently dominates the supply chains for critical minerals and medicine. Meanwhile, Taiwan produces nearly all of the world's most advanced chips. The island lies just 80 miles off China's coast and faces ongoing threats of invasion from Beijing. Bessent added that over the long term, China will need to rebalance its economy, pointing to its $1 trillion trade surplus with the world. He's set to meet with Vice Premier He Lifeng in the coming weeks to prepare for President Trump's China visit in April.
Yeah, we got to get to a world where we don't have just one manufacturer where everyone's kind of playing a role. Everyone's got something to sell. It's kind of cool. U.S. is negotiating updated new START treaty with Russia. They've been making a big deal about this. Hey, let this go. Oh my God, the world's going to go to shit. And what's really funny is China's giving crap about it. Beijing's blasting Washington for fabricating excuses to restart nuclear testing, and they're pissed off at us for letting the START treaty expire. But see, the thing that's funny about the START treaty is that was only between the United States and Russia, not China. So the discussions that are out there is, yeah, we'd like to have some discussions about the START treaty for sure, but we want to have China involved in these discussions too. Why should we limit ourselves and just let China build up, and then just become a big giant pain in our ass? Nah. How about we all do this together? And again, China's going to obviously be allowed to have missiles, and they'll just have it capped. And now, whether or not they let us inspect their facilities like it's required in the START treaty, we'll see. That did exist, and then it was canceled when the Ukraine war, I think even a year after the Ukraine war happened, because they when Ukraine attacked Russia's nuclear stuff, that was like, you're now attacking our nuclear deterrent. You just took this to the next level, like major next level. And yeah, it's like we've nuked countries for that kind of stuff, basically, right? Like that, or they would anyways. So that's the problem that they're trying to work through is they wouldn't let us inspect anymore because they knew if we went in and inspected, the West, because they knew we were helping, Biden was helping, that they knew that then we would inform that location to Ukraine, and Ukraine would likely attack it. So they're like, we're not doing that. Needless to say, we've got a ways to go, but we're going to get there. Coalition of the shilling. The UK can no longer deny it forced Kiev to fight for years. British ex-Prime Minister Boris Johnson is insisting Kiev that they shouldn't seek peace. He was actually one of the biggest to shoot it down. Now, I've heard people say that Tony Blair is kind of like the version of Obama for England. And so Tony Blair probably was sort of had his hand up Johnson's bum, if you will, is how they'd say it, I think. All that said, yeah, this dude's, he was the one that was responsible for negotiating or for telling Ukraine to continue the fight. Ukrainians have actually admitted to this. He was trying to say, this isn't true. That's not true at all. No, the Ukrainian officials says Johnson urged them to fight, period. This is coming from the Ukrainians. Whoops. So yeah, British sources even confirmed Johnson's involvement. There's a senior UK government source told The Times in March 2022 that Johnson's government urged Ukraine not to settle or back down by accepting any of Russia's terms negotiated in Istanbul, calling on Zelensky to pursue a stronger military position. So yeah, this dude's toast. In England, man, you guys are just looking worse and worse. And again, karma, possibly, because you guys have just been giant dicks to the whole planet for eons, right? So it's going to suck. United States and Azerbaijan have signed a strategic partnership. I want to say Azerbaijan. I thought they were kind of tight with Russia, too. So this is a neat partnership. Needless to say, it's good that we're tightening up with some of these people. All right, I've got a couple more things here I wanted to talk about. Russia launches the Proton M rocket with next-gen weather satellite. I'm very curious about this. This is the third of these weather satellites that Russia has. They're at geosync. So they're way up. They just sit above the same spot, and that's where they stay forever. They don't go slower. They don't go faster. They just stay right above the same spot. They've got 3 of these, and it's pretty incredible. And so they've got a 120 degrees range or span that they can look at on as far as the globe, and they're looking at the electromagnetic field of the planet, which thank God somebody is, because we're probably getting some legitimate information that's going to get leaked out by Russia, since maybe we're not getting it out of our own satellites. So at least maybe. But they've got 3 of them now, and with 120 degree on all 3, they can cover the entire globe now. So this thing is looking at weather. It's looking at a number of interesting little tidbits to those agrees. Let's see if they said it again down here. Here it is. Data is going to aid weather forecasting, sea and ocean monitoring, aviation safety, and studies of the ionosphere and Earth's magnetic field. Now, we know Russia's never been on the green stupid game, right? So the fact that they're looking at weather forecasting and sea and ocean monitoring, yeah, it's probably for legitimate reasons, not so we can try to make it seem like the temperatures are different. Because obviously one source, ours, or Europe's, is saying oceans are warming. Well, Russia's going to have actual data that might just contradict them. So I'm very excited about this. And I wanted to share this just because I think it's cool. And I don't know, just one of the things that I've asked people that I believe the Earth's round. There's flat earthers out there. Again, like this International Space Station's up there, and they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, here's 3 examples of people filming it with telescopes in their own backyards. This isn't some government agency. This is actual people that have telescopes filming it. And we got a couple here. And one that's a little bit weirder, but cool.
If you're anything like my neighbors, you probably wonder what in the world I'm up to. This is a homemade contraption that more than once has caused people to cross the street to keep their distance, and it's created some interesting interactions when people don't cross the street. What I'm doing is not as sinister as it might look to people passing by. I'm taking a video of something that is orbiting the Earth, 250 miles high and traveling at 17,500 miles per hour. That something is the International Space Station. I think it's incredible that I could take these pictures of an object moving across the sky that quickly and that far away from literally my front yard. The device I'm using, I call the MISSTEP, the Manual International Space Station Tracking and Capturing Platform. For the evolution of the MISSTEP and more information, check out my channel.
And again, I've seen like shooting stars is another one, satellites flying overhead, and they're like, that stuff doesn't exist. It's like, it does though. We can see it. And people actually, when Sputnik was in space, it was emitting a radio signal, and people were able to actually follow that radio signal around the planet, oddly. So again, I wonder, I'm not trying to get in an argument with people. There's so many things that suggest to me the Earth's more likely round. Anthropic AI, their safety chief resigns. He's warning of a world in peril. Yeah, I know everyone, AI is freaking out. It's a tool, folks. Tools don't always, they can be used for evil and they can be used for good. But, trying to make sure a tool is never possibly, like if you, like a wrench, here's a hammer. Let's talk about a hammer, right? A hammer's a tool. But a hammer can be used to attack people. Poor Paul Pelosi found that out, right? Right? So, well, if we want to make a hammer so you can't possibly ever use it as a weapon, then you make the hammer out of what? Plastic? Now, when you go to try to nail in a nail with that plastic hammer, well, shit, now you can't do what you need to do. So, again, it's a tool. It's a tool. Apple slides on report latest attempt to relaunch their Siri has run into snags. Supposed to maybe be in the, not the next software update, which I think is March. They're saying it might be in the next one. It's just a bunch of stuff it's not doing properly. It keeps going back to ChatGPT, which is what they've been using, and they're trying to wean it off of ChatGPT, but it seems its AI keeps going to that source because why wouldn't it? It's easier. So they've got a bunch of problems that they're trying to work through. It's hurting Apple and their big picture. We've got James Van Der Beek. He's from Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues. He died at 48. He was fighting cancer. A lot of you guys probably remember him. This was brought up. I was hanging out with a couple friends last night, and yeah, it was sad. It was sad. Anyway, needless to say. And also, we've got a couple interesting things with the Guthrie case. There was this mysterious black glove that was found near Nancy Guthrie's home. It could hold DNA evidence. Now, if the dude was wearing 2 sets of gloves, like a double pair, then, and this is the outer pair, then there's probably not going to be any DNA. Still could, because of maybe a break in the glove on the inside, and, possible. But if it's the inside glove, for sure there's DNA. For sure there's DNA. There'll be pieces of skin in there probably. So that'll be interesting. We'll see. They might have found something legit. Also, there's been a third Guthrie ransom note sent to TMZ. This one has a Bitcoin address that's supposedly active. They're saying you got to give us 1 Bitcoin, which is basically $67,000 or 62 or whatever. 67. What is it right now? It doesn't matter. Whatever it is. It'll change in 4 seconds anyways. $67,000 payment would name of the individual involved. So we've got somebody now that's saying, give us $67,000 or 1 Bitcoin, and we'll tell you who's involved. That sounds all sorts of weird. So they might move that. I'm curious how this one plays out. I almost wonder if they're going to get it. But this is the thing that people don't realize. Like, to move the money to another wallet, you do have to connect. And this is not secret. A lot of people suspect that the CIA/NSA, probably the NSA, were very much behind the creation of Bitcoin. That the Satoshi guy, or whatever his name is, could very well have been them. So there's a lot of discussions, but I don't think it's as secure as people think. I think much like the Signal app, people get it. There is an encrypted phone. So all these crazy illegal people then start using it. I don't mean illegal aliens. I mean people that are criminals. They start using it, having encrypted conversations, they think, not knowing full well that the NSA is paying attention to them. So I think the same situation exists like this, and I also know with Space Force and their abilities, they would be able to instantly find out where that address was, where that wallet was, and once they got the information of the wallet they moved the money to, even though they might move it to multiple wallets, I'm sure, and they should probably be able to see it because it's a blockchain. There's always a record. Always a record. There's no secretly moving Bitcoin around. Again, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting because it's all about the wallet, right? If you can have an anonymous wallet, which they've made very difficult to do now, then it's a different story. So we'll see how this plays out. I don't know. It's getting very strange. Definitely seems like criminals that aren't, I don't know, this is a weird person to take, right? Like this old lady because of Guthrie. And I've heard a lot of speculation as to who and what and why. And I don't know. A lot of people say a lot of stuff, and we'll see how it plays out. Again, it's all speculation as far as I'm concerned. Oh, she was supposedly working on something. Okay, well, who said that? Some person said it. I saw 5 different Telegram posts that said that. That was what the older guy that believes there is flat, friend of mine, he said the same thing. He was saying something crazy, and I'm like, where'd you hear that? And he's like, I read it in like 5 different Telegram posts. I'm like, so that makes it real? Man, it worries me. How many people just are not able to discern data? I sound like Jordan Sather now. Sorry, bud. All said, it is what it is, guys. I'm trying my best to help however I can. I think I pissed a lot of people off in the process, though. Sorry, I'm not trying to. Just trying to help. Oftentimes, the messenger is the one that gets shat on. Ooh, there I am. All said, I love you guys. I've got the Law of One coming up here, so I got to get moving on this video and get it uploaded. But I love you guys. Got a great music show tomorrow. We're going to be doing kind of like 90s music. It's going to be fun. It was Three Doors Down has inspired it. I got a Nickelback. I got a few things in it. It's just going to be that kind of vibe. Gin Blossom, Black Crowes song in there. I got some good stuff. You guys are going to have fun. It's going to be a good show. All that said, happens 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Same time I do my show on Thursday, but that's Law of One, and that's not for everybody. It's kind of a smaller audience, which is the intention. All that said, I love you guys. It's my public service. That's what that is. That's what it is. All of that said, I love you guys. We're going to continue this fight. Where we go one, we freaking go all, baby. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.